Hello, hello, and welcome back to MoJo, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, the one and only Powerpuff Girls / JoJo's Bizarre Adventure recap and discussion podcast. We are currently discussing Season 3 of the Powerpuff Girls. I'm Raven.
And I'm Alison.
This week we are talking about the Powerpuff Girls episodes Helter, Shelter, and Power Lunch. Before we get into discussing the episodes, though, just if you haven't already, please follow / subscribe to the podcast and leave us a comment or a review to help us get the show out there to more folks. We might even read your review on the pod.
And if you'd like to hear us elsewhere, we have a second podcast called What We Pod in the Shadows, where we are currently discussing Season 3 of What We Do in the Shadows, which is about some silly vampires that live on Staten Island.
Yeah, you might enjoy that if you want to hear about some vampires that are a little bit less evil than Dio.
Do you have any news?
I believe I actually do, yes.
Okay.
So we are now finally getting some JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Funko Pops.
Oh.
I think what's been announced, I know for sure Jotaro. I think also Old Man Joseph in Part 3 Dio. I think they're starting with that. That might be coming out like this month. I'm pretty sure Jotaro is already available for pre-order. I've only seen what the Jotaro one looks like. I don't know what the Old Man Joseph ones look like or anything.
Gramps have a defined behind.
I would like to see how they would pull that off in a Funko Pop. It would just be nice to get like some more like affordable JoJo merch, like stateside. It is kind of hard to find.
Yeah. Okay, so these episodes, this is I found kind of odd. They first aired on a DVD or VHS April 3rd, 2001, and then on Cartoon Network on my birthday of that year, October 19th. So this is Helter, Shelter. The girls were in space repairing a satellite when they hear the professor all the way in space yelling for Bubbles. Back at home, the professor is impatiently waiting because he found his shoes torn up because 2 white mice were living in them. He then tells all 3 girls that they can't bring animals home. When Bubbles protests that it was only 2 little mice, he opens up a closet door and a stampede of animals come out. I just wrote down, well, kind of like most of them, but I saw a pig, turtle, birds, cats and dogs, a snail, a hamster, a bat, a skunk, a bunny, a snake. There's probably more. The professor says that they need to be free. He's adamant that there be no more animals brought home, and the girls sadly agree. Next, the girls are out on patrol and do one more sweep of the town before going home. They split up and Bubbles takes the coast. However, when they get home, she's being sneaky, which is difficult considering she has brought home a baby whale. She says he's not an animal, but a mammal. She found him washed up on the beach and felt sorry for him and brought him home since he'd never fit in a closet. So that was kind of like, it was kind of like Professor was like, these animals, they need to be free and they shouldn't be locked in a closet. So she took that as what his parameters were for an animal. And she's like, well, it would never fit in the closet. So it's cool to bring this baby whale home. They've got those 3 big oval windows in the house, and she had shoved him through the middle one.
I shake my head at
Blossom and Buttercup are exasperated and trying to reason with her when they can hear with their sonic hearing Professor making his way home. And then I have that he's the whale is stuck in that window on the 2nd floor of the house. The girls panic and try to hide the whale in their bed and all over the house, but there's just no good hiding spot for an animal of that size. The whale looks really sickly now with bloodshot eyes and very pale green skin and all shriveled, when it had been blue and plump and bright-eyed previously. Bubbles tosses a glass of water on the whale, but it needs more water, so they freeze the professor's lab and then quickly melt it with their powers and toss the whale in. It instantly looks healthy again. Just then, Professor returns home and excitedly shows them his new running shoes. At first, he is wanting to get some exercise in his new shoes, but first he wants to find out how they light up every time he steps. So he heads to his lab. The girls try to distract him with news, but are unable to stop him. He ends up soaking wet in the lab with the whale. Professor tries to explain that the whale has been taken from his family, so Bubbles sadly releases him back in the ocean, and he swims away with 2 adult whales. Bubbles recalls Professor saying, "If you love something, you have to set it free." At home, Blossom and Buttercup ask if they are in trouble when it comes on the news that the animals have all escaped the zoo, and they run by the house with Bubbles yelling that they are all free. The day is saved. There wasn't really a need to save anything there. She just needed to take that baby whale and just put it back in the ocean.
Yeah.
That's all that needed done. She almost killed it by bringing it home.
Yes.
Bubbles had like a lot of good like jokes in that episode, kind of like where she's just like misunderstanding what Professor meant, or kind of like misunderstanding on purpose in order to kind of get around his rules. Well, he said this, like, they don't fit in the closet, then it's fine. It's not an animal, it's a mammal.
Yeah, I like this episode for the most part. I have seen it a bunch of times because we did used to have it on VHS back in the day. I did think what was weird at the end, though, that the narrator is like, "You can't teach an old dog new tricks," and I'm like, she is in kindergarten. She's not old.
Yeah, that didn't really make sense there.
There is still time for her to learn.
Yeah, this is the time for her to learn.
Absolutely.
I think, like, Professor was kind of explaining, like, you know, like, what if someone took you away from us? And I feel like that sort of got through to her. Like, that's kind of like what was done with the baby whale. I mean, she didn't, like, technically take it from its parents, I guess. I mean, we didn't really see that scene. Like, she just says, "I found it on the beach," and then she brought it home. So I'm not sure if, like, the parents were, like, right there and she still took it.
Yeah.
Or if I'm hoping it was just all alone. But yeah, that she wouldn't like being taken away from her family. So it was best to give the baby whale back to its family. And it's cute she let all the zoo animals free, except probably a lot of them aren't really from around there, because that's kind of the whole point of a zoo.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, some of it is conservation, like they'll have breeding programs for like animals that are not doing too well in the wild, but mostly it's animals from other places. You're not like the zoos in America, they're going to have like animals from other places.
Yeah.
So they get loose, there's not going to be like stuff for them to eat, and maybe the weather's not going to be right for them and stuff in Townsville, but they might be spending the next day rounding up all those animals. Because I could see the mayor or, like, you know, Miss Bella being like, this is kind of a moneymaker here, and we need these animals back. And the poor, you know, kangaroos or whatever, the koalas, they need their eucalyptus or what have you. See, her little heart's in the right place. Although some of it's kind of a little selfish on her part. Because she thinks they're cute. Maybe, I know they've kind of in the past had trouble with pets like that cat or whatever.
Indeed.
But maybe they, you know, there's that little hamster at school, or, you know, maybe like a goldfish or something, a bird. I don't know. Birds in cages are a little bit sad, though. I don't know. Something. Maybe she would have fun with a pet of her own. The professor tried to make that one.
People.
Yeah, the perfect pet, except it totally wasn't.
Yeah.
But something like that. A dog or something. I'm not sure what I would consider the perfect pet though, because it's like you get attached and then it's sad.
Yeah.
Maybe he could make some sort of like a superhero animal so it can't get hurt. But I guess that's what he tried with Bebo.
Yeah.
I like Professor geeking out about the running shoes, having the light, the flashy light when he steps.
Yeah.
That was kind of cute.
I guess my only trivia for the episode is that the title is a pun on the Beatles song Helter Skelter.
Which doesn't that have to do with the Manson fellow?
I think so. I forgot. I didn't realize it was like a Beatles thing at first because I just associated it with Manson.
Oh. Yeah, I'm not sure if that's like a super appropriate title. Maybe they could have done a pun on whales or something, or used, or I don't know. I mean, that is kind of like a thing, like especially little kids, like, can I keep him?
Yeah.
Sort of thing. And then because they have super strength, that they can bring home like a giant animal, like a whale.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how she thought that was going to work, though.
I don't.
Because, of course, it needs to be in the water. It would have made more sense if they had, like, a swimming pool or something.
Yeah. Alright, I'm gonna start talking about Power Lunch. At the Circle J, the Gangrene Gang tied up the cashier and are stealing all kinds of treats and goodies. Ace is going for the slushy, Snake the gum, Arturo coffee, Big Billy suckers, and Grubber pretty much whatever he can get his mitts on. Eventually, the girls burst in to confront the Gangrene Gang. Ace says they've got them all wrong, but then they book it to an alleyway where the girls zap them. However, little do they know that in doing so, a chemical reaction is taking place in the Gangrene Gang's guts. The girls giggle after zapping them. Ace says he feels cold, and suddenly his skin turns blue, and when he sneezes, he freezes a trash can and a block of solid ice. Arturo zips by and says bless you after he sneezes and tells Ace he iced the trash can. Ace is confused at first, and then Arturo zips by again and points out that Big Billy is a giant rock. Snake asks where his hat is, and Arturo points him to a flagpole way up in a tall building, and Snake, not realizing that he has new stretchy power, stretches all the way up and grabs it. Ace then asks Scrubber if he feels any different, and he does a sonic belch. Ace realizes that they somehow have superpowers and explains this to the rest of the Gangrene Gang, who proceed to attack the girls with their newfound abilities. Ace ices Blossom, Snake punches out Buttercup, and Billy as a rock lands on top of Bubbles. The girls are knocked out cold. The gang use their newfound powers to rob banks, steal jewelry, and evade the police, causing havoc and destruction in their wake. Ace declares Townsville is now Gangrene Gangsville. The girls regain consciousness and go to face the Gangrene Gang, though it's 5 against 3. Blossom freezes Ace, but he's able to burst free with no ill effects. He shoots icicles and a slab of ice at her, knocking her down. Buttercup faces off against Snake, at first dodging his every stretchy attack, but Big Billy steps in and lands on her, knocking her out. Grubber and Arturo tag team Bubbles by hitting her with supersonic belches and super speedy punches. The girls decide on a new strategy and work together to freeze the ground like a bowling alley, while Buttercup hurls Bubbles at the Gangrene Gang like a bowling ball. The gang are struck like bowling pins and fall down, but get up quickly, and Ace orders them to destroy the girls. Arturo uses his super speed to punch the hell out of them, Ace freezes them while they're down, and Snake stretches up high into the air and prepares to drop Big Billy on them. However, before they can do so, the gang's stomachs all start burbling as their lunch is digested, and they all race to the porta potties. They reemerge, and it is evident that they've lost their powers, as Ace is back to his normal green hue, Big Billy is no longer a rock, and Snake can no longer stretch. Realizing that the gang's powers went down the drain, and they still have theirs, the girls burst free from the ice and kick Gangrene hiney. The day is saved. So, did their powers kind of match up with, like, the stuff that they were eating in the convenience store? Yeah, so like Arturo was drinking the coffee, so I give him super speed, and Ace is going for the slushies, getting ice, etc.
What was Big Billy eating?
I think he was eating like a bunch of like suckers or something, like some hard candies.
I didn't think about that till now that they were, because I think, yeah, the slushy thing. I remembered the slushy part that maybe they were matching up.
Yeah.
I mean, they were kind of largely kicking the Powerpuff Girls' butts until they pooped away their powers.
Yeah.
And then the girls almost seem like they almost like electrocuted them. Like what caused it? I don't know if I've seen them use powers like that before. They kind of like zapped them.
Yeah.
So they might want to be careful using that on someone in the future. Or create some villains that are more powerful than they are.
Yeah.
At least temporarily, anyway.
Yeah. I guess this just kind of shows that the Gangrene Gang are a little bit more competent, maybe, than they're given credit for, since they were able to kick their asses pretty well. It's just that they're pretty normal, except that they're green. So normal that this would not work.
Well, I mean, they are like they're kind of kids themselves.
Yeah.
Just a little older. Of course, I guess we don't know like the ages of, because I feel like MoJo isn't necessarily very old.
Yeah.
He was like a baby monkey. And then all those monsters, we don't know. Seems like it's just kind of like monsters all the time. But I mean, him might be older and stuff like that. I don't know if that says that they're more competent, just that they temporarily more powerful. They're not usually like doing super bad stuff. I don't know. Kind of more pranky type things.
Yeah, usually it's just shitty teenager things.
They're at least not like destroying buildings or really even like, I mean, I know they're like kind of stealing food there, but like robbing a bank or anything.
It was fun to see them with powers and stuff, but we do have a bunch of episodes where the villains temporarily like gained some similar abilities to the girls, and they always lose them.
Yeah, it does kind of happen a bit. So when they did get powers, they did try to do worse things.
Yes.
But I mean, they do seem to be largely like homeless.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what to think there.
Yeah, I mean, most of the time they live in the.
The girls do kind of like beat the snot out of them, like anytime they're involved, though.
Yes.
Just like, these are not MoJo or like a big monster. They could just put them in juvie or something. I don't know. Like, just subdue them or like tie them up until the cops can come or something. I don't know. Instead of like beating them up.
Next time we'll be discussing the episode Powerpuff, and that's like one of like 3 more episodes that we will have about the Powerpuff Girls before we move back to JoJo. Watch that ahead of time. Prepare to get back into JoJo mode here soon.
Right, and that one's a longer episode, so we're gonna discuss it by itself.
Yeah. Yeah. I just ask again if you can to follow or subscribe to the podcast, depending on where you're listening to this on, and to leave a comment or a review. Just to help us get out there to more people. And, we might read your review or comment on the show.
And smash all the buttons for us.
So until next time, I'll be the roundabout. Goodbye.
Goodbye.